Okay, hello again, everybody. Another week, another film for us to discuss. So, September is almost over. So, I guess this would be a good time to talk about how you're doing with Septemberfest.
Well, Septemberfest is going to be a little thin this year.
Yeah.
I've watched 2 more movies since we last talked. I was hoping to fit a few more in there, but sometimes with these movies, you really got to be ready to commit to them. I did watch Hereditary. That did end up making it onto the list. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to Us or The Lighthouse because I know that those have quite a long running time. And just with my days off, I have a lot of other things I kind of want to fit in as well. But I did watch Hereditary, and I watched one last night called The Remains. The Remains in particular had a very interesting idea. The setup took way too long, and it killed the rest of the movie. There's 30 minutes left in the movie before anything actually starts happening. The director also wrote it and edited it, and it kind of shows. I don't know how much experience he's had with doing all 3 of those things at once, but it kind of shows. I mean, if you want to take on all of that responsibility, that's great. Really ambitious. But, I mean, I don't know if he just couldn't find an editor or not. There's not a lot that I could find on the movie. But it was a Hulu pick, and it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't terrible, but it just, I don't know how all these people in these horror movies who move into a Victorian house have a disposable income. It's always, the children never need to go to school, ever.
Yeah. They're just chilling, like, at home.
Yeah, exactly. They're always at home to be terrorized. And then there was one other part of it about these movies that always bothers me. And all it would take is a tiny little bit of dialogue of explanation. That's all it would take. But it's never there. They always buy houses sight unseen. Yeah. Always. And I asked my boyfriend, I was like, because who has had some experience in like houses and stuff like that. He knows how the laws work. I was like, how often does a family of 5 buy a house sight unseen? He's like, never. Never. So that's something that always bothers me. But we wouldn't have these haunted house stories if people weren't just a little bit stupid. So.
Yeah, there. The suspension of disbelief is always like something to play with, right? Like
exactly. That's one of the things I appreciated about the Haunting of Hill House. The most recent adaptation was that these are people who are buying a house, going into it knowing it's already going to have issues because that's what they do. They flip houses. They give them a new life. They give them a facelift. And I'm pretty sure that parts of it does take place over a summer when they're younger. So it explains why they're not going to school, or their mom also homeschools them. It's been a while since I watched it. But they do explain certain things that would normally bother me about a house haunting. But regardless. But yeah, so Septemberfest is going to be thin. Long story short.
Cool. So you're going to do another video just sort of wrapping up?
Yep, and I also have a honorable mentions. That's something else I want to do is going forward with Septemberfest is just compile a list of movies that from either my childhood that scared me or movies that didn't make the cut that I didn't want to do a full video on. But yeah, I got an honorable mentions list, so that'll take up some time. So yeah, it's coming.
Cool. Yeah, well, definitely looking forward to that. So, in celebration of that, we're talking about another David Cronenberg film. We started this series of podcasts by reviewing Videodrome, which was interesting. And now we're going to talk about Scanners, which is one hell of a movie. What a crazy movie.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there is. What's interesting about him is I feel like he deals with a lot of stuff that, like this, there are certain things in certain genres that this reminds me a lot of. But it's just a very low budget version of it,
And things explode very easily. Like,
Oh my god.
Also, can I just say, I love Michael Ironside.
He's cool. He's really cool.
I low-key crush on Michael Ironside just because of how angry and mean he is. I'm just like, I love him in Total Recall. He's such a bastard in it, but I love his mania in it. Like, he just wants to kill him. He just wants to kill Arnold Schwarzenegger so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was great in this. I was so happy seeing his name in the credits.
There's some things that he's really, really great at. And I feel like he's a guy, like, I feel like I haven't seen him in a movie in 10 years.
I think the last thing I saw him in, I don't know if he's been anything since, but he was in Terminator Salvation. He had a smaller part in that, bitching Christian Bale out, which is so appropriate for Michael Ironside. He's just really good at playing a hard ass, and I think every action movie needs that character.
Yes.
But yeah, he's always been in movies. Like, he always pops up in something.
He's really good in Starship Troopers.
Oh, he is in Starship Troopers.
He's like...
I need to rewatch that. It's been years.
Yeah, I almost feel like that's something we should review for this.
I would totally be down for that, because I think the last time I watched Starship Troopers, it was on VHS.
Oh, wow. There's a lot to talk about with that film.
I'd be curious to read the book as well, honestly.
Yeah. Hyland's a great writer, for sure. I've read some of his novels. Anyway, so this film, Scanners, very out there kind of stuff. So, I guess we should get into the plot. So the film opens up with and it's funny, like, how kind of dated this stuff is, right? So it's a guy at a shopping mall who appears to be very homeless, right? He seems like a vagabond, and he's eating food that's left over.
Ew, when he picked up first of all, it's a hot dog. Second of all, someone's half eaten a hot dog.
Ugh.
You
That's nasty.
When people judge you, I'm sorry. Not for being homeless, but just for eating leftover food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this guy, we don't know who he is. He's just, he looks super disheveled and kind of, like he's not an upstanding citizen, and he's eating leftover food at a mall.
Yeah.
And he's eating his food, and he's like looking around or whatever, and then this woman's like kind of...
She's a Karen.
Yeah, she's a Karen.
This is the original Karen.
Yeah. The Karen is like a universal thing, right? We just never had a term for it.
That bitch.
So Karen is like, so was she, I'm not sure, was he like kind of in her head, or was she actually saying like, oh, look at this guy?
I think because she was with someone, so I think she was really being judgmental. I think it was heightened for him. I don't think I don't think they were expecting him to overhear her. Although I don't think this is a woman who really cares if she's overheard. Karens want people to hear them.
Yeah, they want to be as obtrusive as possible.
Exactly. So I think it's probably heightened for him because he's already tapped in. He's already zeroed in on her. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just made more loud for him so that we can kind of be put into his perspective of being judged and looked down on.
Yeah, so he, like you said, he zeroes in on this woman who's like just basically talking shit about him, like how he's a bum and blah, 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 and it's nasty, talking to her friend. And then he really like kind of, he starts using something, we don't know exactly, but it's like some telekinetic power on this woman. And she just starts freaking out, and she's being physically harmed by what we can only surmise are his thoughts or his abilities. Mm-hmm. And she just like goes into a seizure. And then these two guys in gray coats see him, and they go after him, and he's trying to run away from them.
What I think is funny about this is that they dart him. They don't like try and use a syringe or something a little bit more, I don't know, subtle. They literally dart him.
Yeah, they dart him like he's a freaking lion or something on the Serengeti.
Exactly.
So yeah, they dart him, and they knock him out. And after, a little struggle, they're able to capture him. And this guy, we learn his name's Cameron. He wakes up strapped to a bed, and this scientist dude comes in and starts talking to him. He's like, you know why you're derelict? It's because you're a scanner, and that could be your greatest source of power. And and then they let in a bunch of people, and he can hear all their thoughts or something. It's overwhelming him. And then I think he gives him the like a shot of the medication, and it calms it down. Yeah, ephemeral. And the guy who's helping him is this guy, Dr. Paul Ruth. So when we kind of figure out who he is later. And that's kind of how we're introduced to this idea of what a scanner is and what they do. Very, like this film does a really interesting, it throws you into the deep end, right?
Yes.
It doesn't hold your hand. It's like, here's some stuff, and after I've thrown the stuff at you, then I'm going to kind of explain it to you.
Yeah.
Slowly. It was like no holds barred from the jump, pretty much.
No, and he doesn't really coddle him when he exposes him to loud thoughts, essentially, because they're not speaking verbally. So he kind of overexposes his senses, and that kind of, I think, to the point where he can get comfortable with loud noises, because up until that point, he was probably numbing it in other ways, because we don't really know a lot about Cameron until we see him for the first time. So we can only imagine what he was doing to try and drown out the noises. But yeah, so Dr. Ruth kind of overexposes him, assaults the senses, and then gives him a shot, and then brings him back down again. So, which is very scientific when you think about it.
For sure. This whole thing, because this is basically the beginning of his training, right?
It gave me. I wondered if it all inspired Heroes a little bit, the television show, because I kind of got some Heroes vibes. There's not everyone is a scanner, but there are a lot of them, and there's almost like this quest to find more, and even this more nefarious quest to create more. Because even if there's someone who is good and pure-hearted with these powers, there's always someone who is the opposite of that. I like that, because I like ideas of like a bunch of people with all of these crazy powers, but they're all over the world, and people having to find more like them.
I mean, for me, I just felt like this was like the X-Men, basically.
Oh, the X-Men as well, for sure.
And it gets closer to that kind of a stuff when we find out the why, right? Later we find out the why, and then I was really like, okay, this is like the X-Men. But like X-Men, if it was, very sort of, like contained power set, like they all can kind of, the scanners can all basically do the same thing. Whereas, you
get the impression some are more stronger than others and stuff like that. Just like there's always one more stronger mutant or anything like that. Like Magneto, Dr. Xavier, the Phoenix. But yeah, there's always one that has a bigger brain.
Exactly. There's always a bigger fish. So then we get this scene where it's like, I don't even know what exactly was going on, but it was just a bunch of like corporate suits at some kind of like a meeting. And I guess the idea of this meeting was to have the company show people the power of scanners, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah, probably a select VIP group, maybe looking for investors, I would assume, too. It's all kind of vague. This guy's just going to give a demonstration. And, of course, as soon as you see Michael Ironside, if you know who he is and what characters he's played, it's kind of like, this is not going to end well. I thought it was a nice switcheroo, because I didn't know who Michael Ironside was going to play, if it was going to be a major role or a minor role. But now I finally know what that GIF is from, or that GIF is from.
Yeah, the brain exploding, the head exploding. Yeah. So this guy is like gonna do a demonstration. He's gonna randomly pick someone. He picks Michael Ironside. and the guy is going to scan Michael Ironside, I guess. But little does he know that he is fighting a Jedi Master, not like some Padawan.
Mm-hmm.
And so Michael Ironside, yeah, exactly. So Michael Ironside kills the guy. He overwhelms him and makes his head explode. Literally, the head just explodes. Boom. And then everyone has to like get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, they're like, clear the room. I'm like, there's also a headless corpse hanging out right there too. But no, let's subdue the enemy first. That makes sense too. I mean, I get it, but ugh. I mean, also Michael Ironside kind of plays a little dumb too. Like, we almost get the sense of like, oh, maybe he isn't aware of his power or anything like that, because I think he let them subdue him a little bit. I think he definitely let him. Because at this point, he had to have built up an immunity to whatever cocktail they were injecting him with. Oh,
for sure. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Oh, please don't vomit.
Oh, no.
She's fine. She's fine.
Okay. Cool. Great.
But yeah, I think he lets him subdue him a little bit, and yeah.
Yeah, it's really, again, this is another scene where they throw us in the deep end. We don't really understand what's going on.
Yeah, we're not sure if we should feel bad for him because he made this guy's head explode, if we should be afraid of him because he's obviously trying to run away, you know, so automatically we might think, oh, well, this poor guy, he doesn't know what he's doing. No, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah. And then, so they try to subdue him, and then there's a scene where, like, one of the doctors is trying to give him some kind of, you know, injection that'll calm him down or subdue him. Mm-hmm. And he does a Jedi mind trick basically on the guy and makes him inject the guy inject himself instead of inject him. And so yeah, we're starting to see like what scanners are capable of. You know, first scene we see Cameron basically, you know, almost kill or harm this woman because he's into her head. Mm-hmm. And then Daryl makes this guy's head explode, and then he's able to control the actions of another person. Mm-hmm. So they're able to do a lot. They're very powerful.
Yeah, but it shows like how much because it hurts Cameron to an extent getting inside this woman's head, because it's obviously either weakening him or it's too much for even him as well. Where Daryl is a little bit more trained. You know, he's, like you said, he's a Jedi Master at this point. He knows that he can take the pain. He's built an immunity to it. And as more practiced as well. He has way more practice at this than Cameron does.
Yeah, totally. And then we get some more scenes with Daryl, like they're trying to take him somewhere, like these people who arrested him. But again, they've been sprung into his trap, and he's able to use his powers to manipulate the situation where there's like a car accident, and then the guy who has a gun on him, he makes him kill himself, and he just gets away. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and now we know for sure this guy is the villain, and he is a force to be reckoned with, 100%. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's young Michael Ironside, so pretty
badass.
He's hella badass. Yeah, he's hella badass in this movie. So then we get this scene with this company. I feel like there's always a company, right? Like, it's the same with Videodrome. There's some weird corporation, and they're the source of the evil. So
Terminator, Skynet was the evil corporation, or Cyberdyne Systems, whatever. There's always someone at a conference table who are assholes. Aliens too.
Yeah, Wayland Yutani.
Like, I feel like RoboCop. I feel like the 80s were just full of people like they just hated these guys, hated them, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, they were actively like destroying the social order that people were used to. Yep. It was full force, and I think people were like, "F this."
Well, I think also for like grand scale things like this, like obviously if you're going to be investigating people with or doing experiments on people with these extraordinary abilities, you have to have money behind it. There's always a reason why these corporate entities are there. It's usually because they need money to support whatever they're doing. So it might also just be like an easy means to an end. That's
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And the other thing too, like this kind of makes me think of I forget the guy. I forget his name, but he was the guy who wrote like Jurassic Park and Westworld.
Michael Crichton.
Yeah, Michael Crichton. I mean, there was a reason why he always, when he was thinking these things up, it was always, some corporation that's trying to profit off of this IP.
Mm-hmm.
That was like half of his books that we didn't know of.
Well, there was more corporate entity in the first book of Jurassic Park than there is in the film. The character Dotson has a way bigger part in the book. There's way more back and forth between Hammond and his board of directors than just Gennaro in the film, because you have to have one character represent a whole other entity. But they cut a lot of that out of the film, which is fine because this is an action adventure, beast movie, monster movie.
Yeah, creature feature.
Yeah, exactly. But no, the 80s were definitely full of that, and Michael Crichton definitely had an axe to grind in some way. He wanted them to be the real monster, because they are most of the time, let's face it. Yeah,
they are. For real. I mean, the boardroom is where a lot of some of the worst decisions that ever have been made, right?
I think the CEO of Nestle once said human beings don't have a right to water. Okay. Yeah. If I see Nestle on the name of something, I try not to buy it.
Yeah. I mean, that's like
Pardon me.
The type of human, and again, we were talking about before. Oh, I forget the name, but like the guy who wrote Starship Troopers, Heinlein. He did this book, The Moon's a Harsh Mistress, and it's about a revolt on the moon that happens because some people were trying to profit off of air. Because, it would be like if in some boardroom it's like, on the moon, people don't have a right to air. And so we're going to have to profit off of it. And that's just how it's going to be.
Well, it's the same with like Total Recall, like the mutants are living in these shitty little hovels, and they're with one switch, they can just turn off these already slow moving fans that are venting in like oxygen and air. And with one switch, they can just turn it off.
Yeah.
And that's another guy in a suit involved in the corporation. Yeah.
The corporations are very evil. So this corporation concept, that's our, evil corporation. They are an international security company, which is to say they have like private armies is what's said in this boardroom meeting. So they're like Blackwater, basically. And they do espionage and this other stuff. And they are running a program to they had in the past been running a program to like kind of, I guess, study scanners and
use them for undercover and espionage. If you have a person who can read someone's mind, it's kind of a perfect spy.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where we learn more about Daryl Reivew, and he's the one who infiltrated their meeting and assassinated their scanner. And basically Daryl's intention is to, I guess, it's funny, but like, I feel like the best way to describe it is that he's basically Magneto for scanners.
Yes, that is he's a very good template for it. Because he does kind of have a tragic past. It's kind of that he knows too much at this point to ever go back. He's been where Cameron is, and he doesn't want to be there again. He doesn't want to be used as a puppet. If anyone's going to be the puppet master, it's going to be him. And if you're not with him, you're against him, which is very much the Magneto that we've all known for so long. So definitely a lot of comparisons and parallels to one another. And just like, I imagine he must have thought he himself was crazy, because we even see it later in the film. But I kind of feel bad for him in a lot of ways.
For sure, he, like, when we get into their past, I mean, it's a real interesting twist and turn. Like, when this movie kind of unveils, I guess, the thematic elements of what's going on.
The motivations.
Yeah, the motivations. It's really interesting, like where he decided to go with it. But yeah, like the setup is like this guy, he has these powers. He views the people who, and their company kind of exploited him.
Oh yeah.
He views them as the enemy. He sees himself and other scanners as the next step in human evolution, basically. And so they're going to get power, and he's systematically searching for scanners and either saying join or die.
Mm-hmm.
So either they join with him or he kills them. And he hasn't come across anyone who's powerful enough to stop him, so he's pretty much just been killing people at this point.
Yep.
And yeah, they talk about so Dr. Paul Ruth he's the one who started the scanner program in the past. He talks about they had pretty much I guess you could say like a long index of every scanner, but they lost them all, and now basically Daryl is like recreating the program. He's finding all the people that they knew and recruiting them pretty much. So so Dr. Paul Ruth, like at some point we get back to what the interactions between him and Cameron, and that's when we see like all of this stuff with what happened to Daryl in the past. Like they were doing experiments on him, and he was, I forget, but there's this really good scene where it's like just video of him talking, and you can tell it's the process of what they're doing to him is affecting him adversely. And basically they say, you're gonna have to face off with him because he is a destructive force and you are to be his opposite. Yeah.
That's a lot to tell someone, especially when you tell them like, oh, you're not crazy, but you do have these special powers. You are the chosen one. You need to be our force for good. But is it really good? If they're just manipulating him at the same time. And it's like they show him this video of Daryl kind of really losing his shit. To kind of scare him into being like, this is what you could become, but this is also what you need to stop at the same time. And manipulate. And they're showing him the worst side of Daryl to get him to want to stop him, basically. And because I feel like Cameron is kind of naive and doesn't really understand what's going on, he just believes that these people have all pure good intentions. But he's still not getting all of the facts from anyone.
He's not, yeah. I feel like, I don't know, we get some, so later on Cameron kind of talks about like his motivations, and for him it's like he wants to, make the stuff go away, right? Like the negative aspects of being a scanner. And I feel like Dr. Paul Ruth is kind of giving him that. And so that's where he's allowing himself to trust Dr. Paul Ruth, because he's the first person that's been able to alleviate the pain and allow him to control his powers. I forget if it was around this point or if it was later, like again, more training, right? Where they have Cameron control this guy's heart rate, and they keep pushing him and like, oh, go make it faster and faster and faster, and he's basically about to kill the guy, right? And then at the last minute, Cameron pulls back and he like, he doesn't have the guy get killed. And we're just seeing this slowly. He's ramping up his powers. He's getting more powerful. He's getting stronger, and he's getting more control. And I feel like that's why he trusts him, is like he's able to have that control. He's able to have, the ability to like not be overwhelmed.
He can stop himself if he wants to. But you can see it's almost like a Jedi thing when they're just tipping a little bit over the edge, like, oh, this power is so amazing. What if I just go a little further? And it's always like that with heroes kind of like this, the regular guy thrown into an extraordinary situation. Oh, what if I just go a little bit further? Well, then you're on the dark side. So yeah, that was good. I feel bad for that poor guy. He was like this yoga master. He can control his heart rate and stuff like that. Like, yeah, he didn't stand a chance.
Yeah.
Also, he's like 80. You're gonna make this poor guy's heart explode.
Yeah, they're just like randomly torturing some dude.
He's a yoga master.
It's like, what did I sign up for?
Is that NDA like? Is that valid still?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I thought this was a seminar. What's going on?
I thought this guy just wanted a yoga class, man. Like,
yeah. Oh man. So then later we see this guy. It's Braden Keller. So Braden, we saw him at the first scene where we're at the boardroom of all the whatever the consec people.
He's like head of security, basically. They just hired him.
Yeah. So he's a double agent. He's working for Daryl, and the two of them are conferring information. And at that point we know this dude's bad, and he's.
Which I think is the reason why Daryl snuck into that meeting in the first place when this guy was going to demonstrate his abilities as a scanner. I feel like he got in there, shook things up enough to show how easy it was to infiltrate. And then, because that's when I feel like they hired Keller. So he could get an agent of his own in there who's not a scanner, who can fly under the radar and not have to worry about being found out, and is just completely human. And then that's his inside man.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely makes sense, because it's right after. Yeah, exactly. It's right after that they bring this guy in, and then we shortly after find out he is basically a traitor to the company or whoever, but is working for Daryl, the ultimate evil.
Magneto.
Yeah, exactly. He's working for the Brotherhood of Mutants. So Cameron is then sent off on his mission. So he's like given a lead. He needs to find this guy, Benjamin Pierce. Who's a scanner, and he's someone who worked for Daryl, but is not dead, basically. So it would be, he's like a way for Cameron to like figure out how to find Daryl. So Cameron goes, and so Ben's like he's an artist, and so Cameron goes to this art dealer where they're selling his art.
Yeah, it's like a gallery.
It's a gallery. Mm-hmm. And so Cameron tries to figure out how to get the information. Like he tries, just like, I want to buy the art, but I want to meet the artist first. And the guy's like, no, I can't do that. I can only sell the art if you're, if I keep his whereabouts a secret. So Cameron uses his scanning powers, scans the guy to get more info out of him. And at that point, he sort of figures out that he's in the presence of another scanner, this woman. I forget her name. But the two of them kind of cross paths, and that's like one of the first times he's come across another scanner in this film. Mm-hmm. So that was an interesting scene.
I thought Ben's backstory was interesting. He was, as a kid, he tried killing his family because he probably was hearing the voices and thought he was crazy. Not that that's an excuse to kill your family. But he was sent away to what I would assume would be juvenile detention of some kind. He was there for a few years, and when he got out, he started making art to cope with the voices he kept hearing. And at some point along that journey, encountered Daryl and managed to evade him. However, he managed to do that. And it's just kind of a hermit and makes art, and that's how he lives his life in a quiet little woodsy area.
Yeah. So what'd you think about Ben's art?
I really liked it, honestly. That's art that I don't necessarily mind. I like exaggerated figures. It tells his past more than just the exposition from Dr. Ruth, honestly. You see one guy on a operating table, and these crazy maniacal doctors with large teeth and bulging eyes, very animal, very primal, standing over him. There's one that I think that Cameron was looking at. It's like rotating inside of a cage, and it's two men embracing each other. But they're like they're becoming one almost, like their skin is attached and everything like that. A lot of it seemed very violent, sad, and poetic, very personal. So I personally didn't mind it at all. I really like stuff like that.
It was really interesting, for sure. Very expressionistic, like you said. You know, it really tells you a lot about the character, for sure. Yeah, I thought that was cool. I thought that was a really cool touch to the character. So yeah, so Cameron, like, he's gotten the information out of the dealer's head, and so then he goes to Ben's apartment or the studio or whatever you want to call it. And so, you know, again, he's like talking to Ben and trying to get more information. And then this gang of people with shotguns just shows up, right? And they just start blasting.
I don't know why, but the shotguns really bothered me, because I was like, shotguns are the worst for long range. Like, it's a short burst. It's a lot of buckshot, and it's going to go a lot of places. But they miss him. So they only shoot him twice in all of this hellfire that they rain on him. And that kind of bugged me. I'm like, just get an automatic weapon. The shotgun is completely superfluous and an assassination attempt, for God's sakes. But yeah, these people just show up, presumably other scanners that are maybe just a little bit weaker, which is why they're using the guns, and which they could have made their minds explode. At the behest of Daryl.
Yeah, that's what we assume. And yeah, they they have these really crappy shotguns, but they're able to kill Ben. But Cameron is able to overwhelm them with his powers, and he just like disables all of them, takes them out. So yeah, what'd you think of the scene when Cameron disables them? Because it was really kind of interesting the way that they shot it and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, he's learning how to not only control his powers, but use them in a non-destructive way. Because he doesn't kill them. I don't think Cameron kills anyone in the whole movie. I don't think. At least not necessarily on purpose.
Yeah, definitely not on purpose.
But you know, he subdues them without killing them, and I thought it was interesting. It was okay. You know, it's kind of what I was expecting. There's something about this movie that just, whenever they use their powers, they're just making a bunch of funny faces into a camera. So sometimes it was hard to really be there in the moment with them. I would have liked some other kind of visual cue or something like that, instead of just really loud noises, which the noises were fine. Kind of just garbled white noise. But yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, it's just like noises and faces like that. That was all we got.
At least with... And actually, Roger Ebert had a really interesting review of this film, because Altered States also came out around a similar time. And he preferred Altered States because when a character is going through a dramatic alteration in their character, there's a visual representation of it somewhere within the film. And in this, there really isn't. So it's hard to really be there in the movie with them.
Yeah, they kind of they lean on the editing. I think the editing and some of the sound stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, so Howard Shore is the one who did the score for this film.
Oh.
Yeah, a very, very well-renowned composer.
I want to say, didn't he do the Lord of the Rings films?
I believe he did. Yes.
Yep. That's a fantastic score.
Yeah, it's really one of the greatest ever. Yeah, so it was I don't know. It left a bit to be desired, but I don't know, just thinking about at this time, there's not a lot to really go on how to handle these kind of scenes, especially with the budget that he had.
That's true.
You know, if you had another, $20-30 million, yeah, you could probably. The thing that comes to my mind, I mean, it's not a great movie, but in X-Men Apocalypse, like, in order to depict like what a telekinetic fight would be like, they kind of depict Apocalypse and Professor X fighting in Professor X's mind.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like this. They basically create a realm, a mental realm, where they are fighting.
Yeah.
Something like that could have been interesting, for sure. but again, like that's, beyond the budget and scope of this film.
True. And it might just not have been something that they wanted to do. They might have just wanted it to be more physical and not necessarily about the mental, because they were trying to show how far Cameron's progress is coming, basically, with his abilities. So there could have been a number of reasons why they didn't have a visual cue for the audience or for the characters.
Yeah, for sure. So then Cameron, he finds this is pretty much a scanner like meetup group, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bunch of people who are scanners who are like kind of trying to be under the radar. And again, he meets this woman that he met at the
gallery.
Yeah, the gallery. So he meets the woman again, and they kind of kick things off.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they all get together and they kind of they do this. I don't know. It's almost like a seance or something. Like they're like, I guess they're trying to collectively use their powers and amplify their powers, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of like this group meditation, I feel like, where they're trying to tap into each other's energy and boost it, and just, it's a very intimate thing, if you could be inside multiple people's heads all at once and sharing the same thoughts and the same feelings and experiencing things that they've gone through. It's a very intimate, very emotional process, because she seems to be on the side of just like, let's just use this to be better people almost, and to support other people like us, because not everyone can live like this. Clearly it drives some people crazy. And also like to just drown out any of the other white noise of other regular people. That seems to be kind of her shtick, is just peace, love, and harmony. And that's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a really interesting scene, seeing them all together. Then of course, things go wrong.
Of course.
The assassins show up again. They bust into the house. There was someone kind of keeping watch. They beat the crap out of this guy, kill him. And then they bust into that room and they again shotgun blast someone. Then one of the scanners sets these people, the assassins, on fire.
Yeah.
On fire.
Which is crazy. Like, because that's why they don't need other powers. That's why the telekinesis is so powerful, because you can just conjure anything and project it onto a living vessel or something like that, and manipulate their mind into seeing something. That's why I think telekinesis would be the coolest superpower.
Yeah. Especially if you had something like what you can do in this film. I mean, dude, these people are crazy powerful.
It's boundless, you know what I mean? Like, it's totally boundless. If you wanted to make them think that they're drowning, you could make them think that they're drowning and kill them that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So then everyone scatters. They get into like some kind of like one of those hippie vans, and they're driving off. The assassins come, intersect them again. They blast their car. The car crashes into a record store, and there's kind of like another fight breaks out in the record store. And then Cameron Cameron is confronted by this assassin. Cameron overpowers him, doesn't kill him, just sort of controls his mind, and then he goes into his mind to find more information about how he can find Daryl. And that leads them to this company, Biocarbon Amalgamate.
That's a mouthful.
That's the name of the company. Now Cameron and this woman, I really forget her name, unfortunately, but like the two of them, now they're together on this journey.
Yeah. She's working with him.
Yeah, she's begrudgingly. I think her name's Kim. I think it's Kim. Is her name
Kim
of the character?
Obrist.
Yeah, Kim. Yeah.
Obrist or something like that.
Obrist, yeah.
Yeah, they're working together. She's kind of just doing it for self-preservation, because she kind of figures this might be the safest place for her is with this guy, because he has connections and contacts, and they're going to get to the bottom of everything that's going on. And what's ironic is that he's working for a corporation he doesn't realize isn't it completely squeaky clean? And then Daryl just has his own corporation too that's working against them. Yeah, that was funny to me.
Yeah, it's all the corporations are evil.
All of them.
And it's basically like Skynet is working for Hydra.
Yes, exactly.
Or something.
Oh, that would so happen. That'd be an
Yeah. Where you're like, oh, Skynet is so evil. It's like, no, you have no idea. Like, Skynet is just a puppet.
It's really Hydra. Hail Hydra. You just have like a Terminator go, Hail Hydra.
Oh my god.
That'd be scary.
Oh my god.
What would be better would be the T-1000 doing the Hail Hydra thing.
Well, I was just thinking, like, if Arnold said it with that accent.
Oh
my god, with the German accent, like, well, the Austrian accent. I'm like, oh.
There were some defectors.
Yeah, that would hit a little different.
Hail Hydra.
Yeah.
Captain America versus the T-800.
That reminds me, one of the craziest comics of all time. They had this crazy story arc where Cap was a Hydra agent.
I heard that, yeah.
Man, this made the internet go crazy.
Oh, I'm sure.
The internet went crazy. But like, this is kind of like, comics is in this weird place where they're super socially relevant, but no one reads them.
Yeah. That's
And
the
so
unfortunate part.
they do these things every once in a while where it's like, well, let's like, Superman's dead, Spider-Man's black, which, that worked out. It really actually did. Or like, I don't know, they just, or Cap is
a Nazi.
part of, Cap's a Nazi. They just do this stuff because it's the only way to get attention.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's like they're so socially relevant, but no one reads the comics. No one cares about and is invested in reading the source material. But everyone knows Superman, everyone knows Captain America, everyone knows Iron Man. So yeah, that was one of the things they did. And what's funny too is then they actually basically had that in Endgame.
Oh yeah, yep, I remember that. Hail Hydra. And the
That was
elevator
crazy.
scene, right? That's when he says that. And I love that because the guys in the elevator are like, holy shit.
What? Yeah, they're like,
no. It's kind of like they feel like this deep-seated secret society that they're already in, like lifelong. It still gives them like a twist. And
it's even deeper. Yeah. That was such a good scene because, like, you're expecting to see like the Winter Soldier scene again. Mm-hmm. And instead you get this insane payoff.
Yeah, you're kind of expecting it to go a little differently because he's already been there before. He knows what they're going to do. But instead, he doesn't even need to lift a finger. He knows exactly how to get to them, which is just that. Oh, and Chris Evans delivered it so wonderfully. Like,
yeah, that the delivery was amazing. And it
was good. I just love that moment. They're like, holy shit, that's Captain America, and he's working with us.
Yeah, like, and he just walks out.
Like, how much cooler Captain America was to them.
Yeah, well, they were probably just, I mean, I don't know. That was such a great moment. And, like, when I saw it the first time, like, people, like, were blown away. Like, that was one of the moments where they got the biggest reaction, for sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so... Okay, back to the plot. So now at this point, they know about the smaller company, Biocarbon Amalgamate. Cameron decides to take Kim in with him to ComSec. So he tells them, "Oh, she's a double agent for us. She's someone who works for Daryl, but she's going to give us information." But Daryl and Braden, they have a meeting again, and they're like, and Daryl's like, "There's no way that she's like works for me. It's impossible." So basically, he tells Braden, "You gotta get the real information out of her and take her out." So this is, yeah, no worries. So this was a really interesting scene to me. So then they bring in Kim, right? And then Brayden is gonna interrogate her by himself in a room, which was interesting. I don't know. I guess, but like, do corporations really do that?
I don't want to know what they do, honestly. Sometimes,
Yeah.
This is the part of the film
Maybe.
where it really kind of felt like it was starting to fall apart a little bit. Like this is the part. Like everything up until that point, I was like, okay, I'll take it, I'll buy it. And then as soon as they got back, it was just one weird turn after another, and it just, like, the first thing Keller says when he walks into the interrogation room is like he compliments how hot she is. He lost the interrogation room right there. Like, you literally lost all of her cooperation, trust, and integrity in you, the person who she thinks is supposed to be, like, on her side. You're so hot. It's just like, okay, I don't trust you now. I really don't. Like, why not try and get her to, be comfortable and want her to talk? And no, you're so attractive. And I just have to tell you. Now tell me, how can I protect you? It's like that Brannigan walked in there from Futurama.
I mean, this, like, most films are made, basically, someone thinks up the beginning, they think up the ending, and they have to figure out everything in the middle.
Yeah, that's the hardest part for me when I'm writing something, is literally the middle.
Yeah. Because you got to really, I don't know, there are ways to get around it, but generally the easiest way to make it work is to have a strong structure around your film. Because the more you've structured it out, the more you're going to know in advance, okay, I'm going to, like, this is the problem part of this film. It's like, what the hell is the point of all this stuff that we've gotten to this point?
Yeah, exactly.
Because like, he's realistically, Cronenberg's just trying to get to the point in the end where Daryl and Cameron fight. Like, that's what we're waiting for at this point. And it's just like, how much longer can we string this out before we get to that point in the film?
Yeah, and the interrogation obviously does not go well, because she figures out pretty quickly this guy's going to kill me. And there's this weird bit of dialogue where he's just like, I've heard things about you. You're not really a scanner. I don't know if he's referring to the conversation he had with Daryl earlier in the film, where Daryl confirms that there is no spy who's been caught, or if there was some part of the film that we missed that maybe got cut or something, where she's, because I thought that might have actually been an interesting twist, where she's just a normal person who's trying to help these people, and everyone just assumed she was a scanner. Because we don't really know anything about her, which was another issue that I had with the film, is that I didn't know enough about anyone to really care too much. I get with Cameron, because he's supposed to be a clean slate, He's supposed to form a new self with these new powers that he's discovered and been given, basically. But there's that weird bit of dialogue, and then she is a scanner, and she's just running around this facility, and no one's caught her yet. It's just yeah.
So the whole thing, there's a weird. So like, at first, the first setup is like, the doctor doesn't give them the shot of stuff that sedates their powers as a thing of trust. Then the Dr. Ruth meets with Cameron, and they have this basically expository discussion about what's actually going on. Biocarbon amalgamate is run by Daryl, and he's pretty much using it to create these drugs. And that company was Ruth's old company that he used to run?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Like, Daryl is taking over over Ruth's company. I don't know how. That's never really explained.
No, not at all.
And he's producing ephemeral or some other drug to put on the market for pregnant women to create more scanners, because at one point in the film, they find a dog. I can't remember if it's before or after they get back to Consec.
It's after. So like a couple other things happen.
Yeah.
So let's see. So they're at the end of this hubbub at ComSec, like, oh yeah, by the way, so yeah, this part of the movie is just so crazy. So then Dr. Ruth just like goes crazy or something.
He finds out that they need to get to a computer. They need to get to a computer to find the list of scanners, basically.
Yeah.
And all hell breaks loose pretty fast because Kim escapes. She uses her scanner abilities to subdue Keller because he's being a weird, creepy son of a bitch. And she gets out and he hits an alarm. And then, again, all hell breaks loose. And Cameron decides, I can't go with you, Dr. Ruth. I have to go save Kim. I have to make sure she's okay. The jig is up. And Dr. Ruth is like, no, you need to come and we need to find this list. It's more important than one person. And Cameron goes against that. And Dr. Ruth has this weird inner monologue that turns out to be not like it stops being an inner monologue and he's just talking out loud and wanders into a room. And the guy
for real
was just like, he's like, I've been hiding the secret and all these other things. And I'm just like, you're telling no one important. Like, you're literally telling no one important. And then Keller comes along and shoots him.
What the hell was that?
Anything in this place. There's no cameras. The security is crap. In a security company, your security sucks.
Like, what the hell was that scene?
I don't even know. I think they were setting up for the reveal later on in the film. But I feel like you could have done it without that weird bit of Dr. Ruth. It was just too. It just ran like no one else had. There had been no other inner monologue throughout the entire film, and all of a sudden he's just.
Oh my god! Oh my god! The looks he was getting, it was just so like, what the hell happened? Movie, where am I? What's going on?
I did read that David Cronenberg had a very difficult time making this film. He said it was his most frustrating film he had ever made. So like, I can appreciate that aspect of it, but it just fell apart. The best part of the escape scene, in my opinion, was when Cameron and Kim meet up and they use their separate powers, and you can kind of see how he uses his and she uses hers against the two security guards, the only two security guards in the whole building. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I liked that scene. That's when hers takes on a visual representation. When the security guard sees his mother in her face, and it freaks him the hell out. And I liked that part of it. Whereas Cameron's is a little bit more of like maybe a physical thing and not necessarily a visual thing. So maybe that's like a cue of how their powers are the same, but how they use them is very different.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah, especially the stuff with the mother. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Like, of all the ways we've seen their powers, that was probably the most like tangible for us to understand what's going on.
Exactly.
So I really liked that.
Yeah, I liked that scene too. It was that moment in that whole shit show of nonsense and chaos that was going on. And Cameron kind of feels Ruth die, I feel like, at one point. I feel like the gun goes off and Cameron kind of stops for a second. Kind of like this Obi-Wan thing.
Yeah.
Like I felt the souls of 1,000 people die. So that was kind of neat. But yeah, and then they escape. They escape.
Yeah, it is a disaster. Anyway, so that scene's over. So then Cameron, we get some more ComSec stuff. So now at this point, Braden he's just like taking over pretty much. And there's this weird scene where they're in some lab with a bunch of, Poindexter dudes with glasses, and they're at computers typing away. And they're like, "Oh, hey, boss! So someone hacked us." It's like, what?
Yeah, security company.
So Cameron hacked. This was really kind of cool too. So he used the phone line to hack into their company, and I think Dr. Ruth described it as like like a computer has a nervous system as well, and so you can get into the nervous system of the computer the same way you could a human.
Mm-hmm.
So he's using that to get more information out of their computer. So then Braden tells him, "Oh, basically hit the self-destruct button, like blow up the whole, like delete everything, like
lock him out."
Like, yeah. So begrudgingly, this guy does it
at gunpoint.
at gunpoint from Braden. He hits the button. So this is supposed to kill Cameron. So Braden was like, "Oh yeah, it'll kill him. It'll be like him and the computer are one, so it's gonna kill him." Ha ha ha. No, didn't kill him.
Moron.
Yeah, this was a really interesting scene too. So like, we see everything shutting down on the computer, and then things go haywire. The telephone line starts catching flame. The phone itself melts, and then the computers just explode. They explode, and we don't find out until later, but basically it kills everybody.
I like that one guy who's like, "No, it's just gonna turn off, see?" And then kaboom.
That was great.
And Keller goes flying and is killed, thankfully.
Yeah.
That guy's dead now. But yeah, I just love that one Poindexter who's just like, "It's fine." Boom.
Yeah, boom, he's dead. He's dead.
I don't know if they meant for that to be funny, but I laughed.
Oh, it was, yeah.
I did like the moment of like the phone actually melting in his hand, though. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. What's weird too is like they're near a gas station, and then some guy is just like, "Oh my god!" Like,
oh shit!
It was like the gasoline fight from Zoolander.
Oh god!
And he just like drops it, and then the freaking place explodes.
It was like there were too many unnecessary explosions. Like I just felt like it didn't need it. Like cars can hit a solid object and not explode. Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing. But then the first explosion happened, and then just one after another. There was too many action movie elements in it. I feel like that weren't appropriate for what the story was. But whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'm guessing the producers wanted explosions or something. I don't know.
We need more explosions. Thank God they didn't say boobs or anything like that. We just got explosions. Yeah.
So so that's happened. Now they have more information, and so then this is when they go to the doctor.
Yeah.
It's hella random. They just go to this doctor. I mean, they probably got the information from the computer or whatever, so they were informed.
Thankfully, he wasn't too far away.
Yeah, he was down the street. So they go to this doctor, and this is where... So there's a couple interesting things happen. So they go to the doctor. The doctor tells them about ephemeral, which is this drug that's creating scanners. And then Kim gets... She's in this waiting room with this pregnant woman. Then she starts sort of bleeding from the nose. Then after this meeting with the doctor, Kim basically tells Cameron, like, "Oh, I got scanned by this baby, like the unborn child." And so now, we finally gotten there. The final confrontation happens. They know where Daryl's at. They go there to meet with him. And so then we get the ultimate
showdown.
Also the ultimate plot twist, right?
Yeah.
He's like, "Cameron, I am your brother."
And Dr. Ruth was our father.
Trust your feelings. You know it to be true.
True, exactly. We have this Jedi showdown. It's so much like a Jedi showdown because there's always a moment with the evil Jedi trying to convince the good Jedi this is the right path. I'm right. You were manipulated. You were lied to. You were allowed to live in filth, and you have no memories. They took all that away. It seems good over here, bro. The water's fine. But good must always triumph over evil. And again, I think Daryl's motivations are kind of valid. He has a right to be pissed off.
He does.
A lab rat, pretty much. Because Dr. Ruth made this drug, basically a kind of like what we talked about before with God.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, right on the tip of my tongue. The drug women were taking basically in the 40s and 50s to alleviate nausea. And he made something similar for formaldehyde. That's what it was called. Formaldehyde babies. And he made something similar, and it worked perfectly, except the side effect was, hey, your baby's got telekinesis now.
Yeah. Your baby's a scanner.
Your baby's a scanner. So he basically created this whole race of scanners, and he's trying to, basically get them under his wing. And he sees himself as almost like, Dr. Ruth saw himself as almost like the father of all these babies, which is really creepy when you really think about it, because it's like there was another scandal about doctors basically artificially inseminating women with their own essence, basically, and that has happened in the past, and it was a really big problem. That's what it also kind of reminded me of, because his children were the template of it, and he knew the consequences, and yet he still allowed it to happen. And it was so, I thought that was just such a creepy, dark twist for the film, which I felt I didn't hate it or anything like that. But that was an interesting element that they threw in there that just kind of grossed me out in a way.
Yeah, and it's really good that you brought up formaldehyde?
Yep.
Yeah, because like that, in the end, that's kind of that's what this film's about. It's like it's kind of coming to fruition the effects of these drugs these companies have created.
Yeah, because at this point in time, when the movie comes out, all of those children who survived are grown.
Yeah.
And attempting to live normal lives, and those kids are still alive. Like the kids of that was my parents' generation. Like being born in the mid to late 50s. That was them, and it was in production for longer than it should have been. And it took them a long time to figure out what it was where it was coming from, because it wasn't just an isolated event. So, yeah, it definitely was I don't know if that was what the whole movie was supposed to be about, but it was definitely a metaphor and a tie into something that was real.
Yeah, that was part of the thematic currents, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we get, sorry.
Bless you.
Yeah, thank you. So now we get the Jedi, the scanner battle. So, Daryl tells him, come to the dark side, because like you said, you've been lied to. The dark side is more powerful, and we should rule the galaxy together.
Yeah, because Daryl's end game is to do exactly what his dad did, basically, which is create more scanners. So
create more scanners.
Is he really any better, kind of a thing? And I think Cameron kind of figures that out, and it's just like, no.
He's like, we will end the rule of two, and we will we will teach all these Padawans. But yeah, he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Cameron's not going to do that. So then they go at it in a scanner way.
Yeah, and Daryl's kind of like, I'm going to suck your brain dry, basically, and you'll be in me, and we will be one, kind of a thing. He'll be even more powerful. Yeah.
So yeah, this battle was like very interesting. So like they did this cool stuff with like practical effects, like the veins popping out.
Yeah,
that was really cool.
Yeah, Cameron tearing off pieces of his face, which is a huge thing to do in the 80s. Everyone was ripping off their face. Well, because it's very dramatic, probably, and it's nobody wants to tear their face off. So.
Yeah, that is pretty dramatic.
So he's basically just wasting away, and it's kind of unclear. It's kind of clear who's winning the physical side of it, but who's winning like the mental side of it, because
we don't really know.
Yeah, it's wearing Cameron out physically, but how's his mind doing? That's the important thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Cameron just like catches fire. Like he does like this or something, and then he like catches fire, I think.
Yeah, he's kind of like out like this, and you can see that Daryl seems a little bit more worried. It's a very expressive battle of the minds.
It is.
Because at one point Daryl seems worried, even though his body isn't catching on fire. He's not really wasting away, but he seems like kind of worried, like the scales are turning a little bit.
Yeah. And then like we get that one really famous shot where Daryl, his eyes go white and he's like, "Ah!" And that's like the end of the battle.
Yeah, then it cuts away.
Yeah. And then so Kim wakes up in the other room. She's been there like the whole time.
Just taking a nap.
She's taking a nap.
I don't think there was any guard on her or anything. She just wanders out.
No, she literally she opens the door, and there she finds what happened. She sees Cameron's immolated body, completely burned. Mm-hmm. And she finds Daryl. He's still alive, but Daryl has we hear Cameron's voice. I think he has Cameron's eyes too.
Yeah, he's got there's some contacts in there. I think it's kind of a mixture of both of their eyes, because I feel like it was a layover or some kind of sound mixing with both Cameron's and Daryl's voices, because it was kind of distorted. And he's kind of just like, we won, Kim. I am both, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But that's a lot of power.
So they like fused?
I think they are. I think they are. It was a way of, because because it's like who was stronger. It was like a battle of the minds, but not a battle of the body, kind of a thing. And Cameron just fuses his consciousness over Daryl. Yeah, so they're one person.
But it seems like Cameron is the one in control, really.
Yeah.
The Cameron personality.
Yeah, because he recognizes Kim and he tells her that they won.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he did win, but I feel like that's going to be an even bigger uphill battle. And what if Daryl ends up becoming stronger? I've never seen the sequel, so
I haven't either. I don't think Cronenberg was related to them, so I'm not really super excited about watching them.
I might watch a sequel.
Okay.
I might, because if this is a 20-year franchise that I didn't know about, I'm very curious to find out what else they did with, just to see how they expanded the world a little bit. Yeah. Because there's some world building behind it if there's a 20-year franchise. So,
I mean, it definitely kind of leaves you with some questions, because it's like, okay, what happens to the company? What happens with all the drugs? What happens with all the other scanners?
Exactly, because now not only Cameron knows where all the scanners are, he knows who they are. He has that in his head, but so does Daryl now. And again, if Daryl becomes strong again,
he takes over.
Yeah, I feel like I don't think either of them should have lived, personally. That's just too much power.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see Cameron immolate and then Daryl his head explode.
I was waiting for another head exploding, personally. Yeah. And then Kim takes on the mantle of looking for the rest of the scanners, because she is the more maternal. She's just as strong, or maybe not just as strong, but she has her own powers too. But yeah. Yeah,
that was interesting film. So how do you feel like this compares with Videodrome, the other film we saw of his?
They're very different. Videodrome is very much about the sadistic sexual side of human nature and how we're just primal animals that want to just hurt each other all the time. And then this is something I liked the story of scanners more, the idea at least a little bit more. Videodrome just didn't. It had an interesting progressive message that has aged well, but the film itself hasn't. It just hasn't.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like Videodrome taps into a more hedonistic side of human nature.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's really interesting to think about because I really feel like scanners, the thing that comes out to me thematically is the effects of this industrialization that we've created, and what are the offshoots of that, and how they affect society, and how these things kind of going to come back to haunt us in a way.
They come back to haunt us in the form of our kids and what we instill in them as young children, and I still didn't like it.
Yeah.
And not because David Cronenberg's a bad director or anything like that. I just think the movie had a lot of issues and it just fell apart. Once they got back into concept, the whole film just started unraveling really, really fast.
Yeah, that scene with the doctor when he's talking to himself and then he's like, yeah, the inner monologue, it was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's like, where did this come from? If there had been more inner monologues at the beginning of the movie where it was more present and constant, maybe. Inner monologues still are very hard to pull off because, I don't know, I just didn't like it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I don't think that scene really drug a lot of the film down.
Yeah, it did. And again, I didn't know enough about the characters except Daryl, who I'm supposed to root against. I didn't know enough about anybody. We don't find out why Cameron is the way he is until Daryl tells us. Daryl's a more sympathetic character, and he's the villain. Pardon me.
Yeah, like Kim, we don't know anything about her, like at all.
Like, clearly she's connected to Ben somehow because she's at his gallery, and they're both hiding out from Daryl. But I don't know anything. I don't know why she's doing it. I don't know what started her journey. Like, there was more exposition, I feel like, on the companies and things that really I didn't care about than more on the characters.
Yeah.
And I cared about I cared more about the characters in Altered States because, again, I see this budding romance. We see them fall in love and their relationship deteriorate. And then I see them become friends while they're still in love with each other. And while he's going through these different evolutionary processes, I was able to really care about them more.
For sure, yeah. There was a lot. Like, the characters are super flat. Like, they're just sort of conduits of these ideas.
And I know the actor who played Cameron didn't continue acting, but he was terrible. His delivery of his lines, I don't understand why he was cast. Maybe he gave a better audition. Maybe he was super nervous. I don't know. But his dialogue delivery compared to anyone else was a -5 for me. I don't even know. Like, it was just so bad.
Yeah.
Like, Kim, we have to get out. Like, I think he ended up becoming a really world-renowned sculptor or a painter or something like that. So good for him.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, just the acting is not very good. Not very good.
The acting left a lot to be desired, for sure. Like, other than Michael Ironside, like, the rest is like, but like, you know, when you're put in the position of like, okay, you have an inner monologue, act it. Like, I don't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do.
No,
I don't know what to do with that scene.
Yeah, the facial expressions were just so over the top. It was so much. Then just have him talking to himself. Because eventually he just was talking to. It started as an inner monologue, and then he was just talking to himself and just sat in a random room.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just Yeah,
that left a lot to be desired, as you said.
Yeah, it did, for sure. Yeah, so I guess that's our thoughts on Scanners.
Yeah,
Feel like, you know, there was some cool stuff.
Yeah,
it really felt like this was like, you know, the X-Men. This is like the indie X-Men movie on a certain level.
Because we usually see telekinesis being portrayed in superhero films and stuff like that. So it kind of had the superhuman power without the superhero storyline. And our hero's just kind of boring anyway. So
yeah, our hero's very boring. Yeah, and then we mix in some like kind of Star Wars, I'm your father, brother, join the dark side stuff.
Yeah, and it's
because like Empire came out a year before this, right? Pretty sure.
It?
Yeah, this came out in 81, so I feel like it had to have been in the air. Like I feel like that, you know.
Yeah, that whole good versus evil thing, for sure. And yeah, they definitely seem to be inspired by that a little bit with elements of Daryl, because again, like if he's anything like Magneto, like I've always liked Magneto personally. Like this is a guy who had a really rough start. So I feel the same way about Magneto that I do about Daryl, which is like, yeah, he's evil and he's trying to take over the world, but I understand why he's mad. I get why he's mad.
And he should be mad, right?
Yeah, he should be.
So, yeah. So I guess what will be your rating for this one?
My rating?
Mm-hmm.
A 3.
Okay.
A 3. That's probably it.
Yeah, I think I would give it somewhere around. I didn't think it was that bad. I would probably give it like a 5.5. I didn't think it was terrible. Some of the stuff was cool. I mean, like, look, the head exploding stuff, like, that is in the popular ethos. Yeah, so is the like, that shot at the end of Michael Ironside with his eyes like they're white. He's like,
Oh yeah, he's on the poster.
Yeah. So that stuff is cool. I think some of the powers set stuff is cool, but yeah, it leaves a lot to be desired. And there's I don't know. It just felt like there was some problems probably with the budget. There's probably some problems with like the producers, like the other people he was working with. I'm sure that they were tightening the screws, and there was a lot of things he didn't totally want to have end up happening in the film.
It sounded like Cronenberg had a really uphill battle, and he was very frustrated. I mean, he even said he was frustrated during making the film, and I feel like it really comes across that he was not in the best headspace, no pun intended, while making the film. I feel like that can greatly affect how a film's final edits and its final production, that your director wants to just be done, that he just wants to be finished with it.
Yes.
Maybe that's why the middle is so bad, because maybe he was just rushing and wanted to just get it over with, and that was the best cut of it that he had.
Yeah, he probably couldn't resolve it with what he was given, and so that's just what he got.
If that's what he was left with, then damn. That's really too bad. Because he's not a bad director, and he's not a bad writer. Like, we know that, so thankfully that we have other movies we can enjoy too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, all right. So I think that's our review of Scanners. So yeah, awesome. So one question I have for you: Have you ever watched the series on Netflix, Black Mirror? Have you watched that?
I have watched a few episodes from the first season of Black Mirror, but I haven't ever watched it from start to finish. Okay.
Have you ever watched the one that they did that was like a spoof of Star Trek? Have you ever watched that?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I feel like that would be a good thing for us to watch possibly in the future.
Just that one episode? Well, I mean, the nice thing about Black Mirror is that it is different every time, so you can flip and dip if you wanted to. Kind of like the Twilight Zone. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an anthology, so you can totally go in and out and just basically just watch the best ones. So yeah, maybe that's a potential thing for us to watch, because it is a spoof of Star Trek, and it is a very interesting take on it in the Black Mirror way.
I like when people do that with Star Trek, because it doesn't hurt my feelings, because I know some Trekkies get so mad and offended by it. I just take it as you're just inspired by this, and if this is your take on it, then I'm gonna give it a go. I want to see how you interpret it. Yeah,
and they kind of go there with that. I mean, the setup and like, because there's always some, right, with Black Mirror, there's like there's a setup, there's like something that's kind of evil or wrong or immoral, and like how the moral conundrum is resolved. There's an interesting moral conundrum in that film.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand with the Twilight Zone too. There's a setup, something's not right, and your hero might actually be the bad guy too, which I always admired.
Yeah, for sure. And you were also talking about Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
that was a movie you were saying. Yeah, that's a fun one to talk about, especially thinking about it. It's been like 30 years,
at least
25 years.
I forget the director's name, but I usually like his name. Verhoeven, yes.
Paul Verhoeven.
Verhoeven, like Total Recall.
RoboCop.
I have always said after viewing it. Showgirls has more to say than people give it credit for. And you have to really look for it. It's not all good. It's not all good. But this is a very, it's better than I think people want to admit it is.
Yeah. I haven't seen that film, but I think that film just got a lot of crap because it was NC-17 and
it is, and it is for a reason. And it's not just because of the boobs. There's a scene in it that is very, very horrible. Verhoeven has a theme of sexual assault in his films that I'm not always keen on, but they're very realistic. And that's one of the things that turn a lot of people off, but he's not doing it because he enjoys it. He's showing it in a very realistic way. He's showing trauma in a very realistic way. But it is very, very gratuitous and very awful. But the movie has a lot more to say than I think people, again, give it credit for. Again, for the NC-17 rating, for other things that happen in it. The acting, again, isn't that great, but this is... It has a message.
Didn't he also do Hollow Man?
He did, and I actually don't hate Hollow Man. I think it was an interesting take on the whole Invisible Man thing. Again, there's another sexual assault scene in that as well.
Yes.
But that movie actually still looks pretty good. Like, they did some pretty interesting special effects with that film, and it has its creepy moments. Like, Kevin Bacon wasn't bad in that movie. And I think it has a young Josh... oh God, what's his name? Josh Brolin.
Yeah, he is. It is. Well, Josh Brolin, he's been in films since he was a kid. He was in the frickin' Goonies. Right? I
always forget that. Yeah. I always forget Josh Brolin's been acting since he was a kid. I don't know why.
Yeah, because he's like a Hollywood royal, basically. So he's been acting forever. But yeah, he's in that. Yeah, it's very creepy. It's very, but like again, like it's a guy on a power trip, right? Yep. And there's one scene where he sees this woman who like lives across from him or something, or in some hotel, and he goes after her, and it's brutal.
Yeah, it's a penthouse right across from where he is, and it's actually the least gratuitous of Verhoeven's assault scenes. That I can't believe I'm saying that.
I know,
but it's still very, very creepy. It's very, very creepy. The voyeuristic elements are very, very profound in it, and what someone just knows they can get away with.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the latest Invisible Man.
It's on my list actually to watch because it is supposed to be. I've heard good things about it, and
it's really good. It's really, really good. The acting's great. The directing's really good.
I love Elizabeth Moss. I love her.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I feel like that film was basically taking like the Hollow Man concept, making it about the woman, and just going further. Because Hollow Man is like it's really from his perspective. The film, for the most part, it's like sort of half and half him, half the other woman.
Yeah.
The newest one is just it's all about the woman being accosted by this invisible man who's on a power trip. And it's just the same kind of stuff, pretty much.
Ugh.
Yeah. Rough. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I think we covered everything. Those are some things to look forward in the next episodes. Take care, everybody. May the force be with you.
Live long and prosper.